Young waitress speaks fluent French. Billionaire is impressed and leaves a note. Chloe Miller was wiping down the tables at the small cafe in downtown Chicago when her hands began to tremble. The distinguished man with grey hair and an impeccable suit had just taken a call in French, and she had understood every word of the business conversation that had left him visibly irritated. That was when she made the mistake that would change her life forever. Unable to control herself, she whispered a suggestion in perfect French about French labor law that could solve exactly the problem the man was facing with his company in Paris. The businessman froze mid-call, his blue eyes locking onto her with an expression of complete shock. How could a simple cafe waitress know the solution to a legal deadlock that his lawyers hadn't been able to crack for weeks? The silence that followed was deafening. Chloe felt the blood drain from her face as she realized what she had done. She quickly lowered her head and kept wiping down the tables, pretending nothing had happened. But it was too late. The man had ended the call and was watching her with an intensity that made her feel completely exposed. "Can you repeat what you just said?" he asked in English, but with an accent she couldn't quite place. "I'm sorry, sir. I didn't say anything," Chloe lied, avoiding his gaze. The businessman stood up slowly, tucked his phone into the inside pocket of his blazer, and walked over to her. Chloe noticed he wore an expensive watch and impeccable Italian shoes. Everything about him screamed money and power. "My dear, you just gave me the solution to a $2 million problem," he said, now in fluent French. "How does a young American woman know the intricacies of French labor law?" Chloe felt her legs go weak. Since she was a child, she'd had a knack for languages, but she'd never been able to explain where that gift came from. She simply listened and understood as if it were natural, but she had never mentioned it to anyone, especially not at work. I don't know, sir," she stammered in English. "Sometimes I hear things and—" "You speak French like a native from Lyon," he interrupted, still in French. "Your word choice, your sentence structure, even your use of the subjunctive. You don't learn that in a language course, my dear." The cafe was nearly empty that late afternoon. Only 2 customers sipped their coffees in silence at the back of the establishment. Chloe glanced nervously toward the manager's office, fearing Susan might see her talking to a customer during her shift. "Sir, I need to get back to work," she said, trying to step away. "Wait." He gently held her arm. "My name is Arthur Sterling. I need to talk to you, but not here. It's about your family." "My family?" Chloe stopped instantly. "You don't know my family." Arthur pulled an elegant business card from his pocket and wrote something on the back. He handed it to her with a look that mixed seriousness and compassion. "Your shift ends at 8, doesn't it? Meet me in the lobby of the Plaza Hotel at 9. I have information about your mother that might interest you." "My mother?" Chloe's heart raced. "My mother abandoned me when I was 3 years old. I don't know anything about her. That's exactly why I need to talk to you." Arthur put away his wallet and adjusted his tie. "Your mother didn't abandon you, Chloe. She was prevented from coming back to you." Before she could ask anything else, Arthur had left the cafe, leaving behind only the scent of expensive cologne and a million questions swirling in Chloe's mind. She looked at the card. Arthur Sterling, Chief Executive Officer, Sterling Enterprises. On the back, he had written, "Your mother worked for me. She never stopped trying to come back to you." The rest of her shift passed like a blur. Chloe Miller burned 3 cups of coffee, dropped a tray of sandwiches, and almost got into a fight with Susan, the manager. Her mind was completely focused on Arthur's words. Could it be true? Had her mother not abandoned her as she had always believed? At 8 o'clock sharp, Chloe left the cafe practically running. She had 1 hour to get to the hotel and find out what Arthur knew about her mother. Her whole life, the only information she'd ever had was what her grandma Martha had told her, that her mother was too young, irresponsible, and had left, leaving her behind without looking back. The bus ride to South Beach felt like an eternity. Chloe kept staring at her reflection in the window glass. Her curls were messy after a whole day of work, and the white uniform t-shirt was stained with coffee. Not exactly the right outfit to meet a businessman at one of the most expensive hotels in Miami. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. As she walked into the lobby of the Plaza Hotel, Chloe felt completely out of place. The gleaming marble, the crystal chandeliers, and the elegantly dressed guests contrasted sharply with her simple appearance. She looked around for Arthur and found him sitting in a leather armchair, reading a French newspaper. "Chloe," he stood up when he saw her. "Thank you for coming. I know you must be confused." "Confused is an understatement," she admitted, sitting in the armchair beside him. "Did you really know my mother?" Arthur carefully folded the newspaper and looked at her seriously. "I didn't just know her. She was one of my best employees for 5 years. Her name was Sarah Miller, correct?" Chloe's heart nearly stopped. No one had ever mentioned her mother's full name. Her grandmother always referred to her only as your mother, or that irresponsible one. How do you know her name?" "Because Sarah worked as a translator at my company. She spoke 7 languages fluently: English, French, Spanish, German, Italian, Portuguese, and Arabic. She was one of the most intelligent people I've ever met." "That's impossible," Chloe shook her head. "My grandmother told me she was just a girl who got pregnant young and couldn't handle the responsibility." "Your grandmother lied to you," Arthur said gently. "Or at least, she left out important parts of the truth. Sarah didn't abandon you, Chloe. She went to Paris for work, with the promise that she'd return in 6 months to pick you up. But things got complicated." "What kind of complications?" Arthur sighed deeply, as if he'd been carrying a weight on his shoulders for a long time. "The company was expanding into Europe, and we needed someone who could handle complex international contracts. Sarah was perfect for the job, but what was supposed to be a temporary assignment turned into something much longer due to legal and bureaucratic issues." "And she couldn't come back?" "Not without abandoning a multi-million-dollar project that depended on her. She was stuck between 2 impossible choices: coming back to you and hurting hundreds of families who depended on the project's success, or staying and finishing the work, hoping to return right after." Chloe felt the tears begin to well up. Her whole life, she had carried the pain of abandonment, believing she wasn't good enough for her own mother to stay with her. "But she could have at least called me, written." She tried. Arthur pulled a time-yellowed envelope from the inside pocket of his jacket. "These are some of the letters she asked me to deliver to you personally. More than 50 letters over the years. All of them came back." "Came back?" "Your grandmother refused to accept them. She said it was better for you to grow up without the influence of a mother who had chosen money over her daughter. Those were her words." Chloe took the envelope with trembling hands. She could feel several letters inside, all addressed to her. Some were from when she was 4 years old, others from 5, 6, 7. Her mother had written to her all those years. Can I read them?" "Of course. But be prepared. Your mother suffered a great deal from the separation." Chloe opened the first letter, dated almost 20 years ago. It was handwritten in delicate calligraphy. "My little Chloe, Mommy is very far away, but she thinks about you every day. I know you're still too young to understand, but Mommy had to travel for work and save up money, so we can have a better life together. I'm counting the days until I come back and give you all the little kisses I've been saving in my heart. I love you more than anything in the world. Mommy." Tears now streamed freely down Chloe's face. She quickly flipped through the other letters, seeing how her mother's handwriting changed over the years, how the hope in her words slowly gave way to hopelessness. "Why are you telling me this now?" she asked between sobs. "Because today, when you spoke French, I recognized something that could only have come from Sarah. She had exactly the same gift you showed, the same natural ease with languages, the same ability to soak up languages as if they were music. She's still alive?" Arthur paused for a long time before answering. "Yes, she lives in Lyon. She never married, never had other children. She works as a French teacher for immigrants. Every year on your birthday she calls me crying, asking if I have any news of you." Chloe's world completely fell apart. Everything she had believed about her life, about her origins, about being abandoned, was a lie built by her grandmother's overprotectiveness. Her mother was alive on the other side of the ocean, suffering just as much as she had suffered all these years. "I want to talk to her," she said through tears. "I want to meet her." "I can arrange that," Arthur smiled for the first time since they had met. "But first there are more things you need to know." "More things?" "About why you speak French so well, about the real reason your grandmother kept you away from your mother, and about Susan." "Susan? The cafe manager? What does she have to do with this?" Arthur leaned forward with a grave expression. "Susan is your mother's cousin. She's known the whole truth for years and never said anything to you. In fact, she's been treating you badly on purpose." "That's insane." Chloe stood up from the armchair. "Why would she do something like that?" "Envy, my dear." When Sarah received the opportunity to work in Europe, Susan also applied for the position. "She was furious when I chose your mother over her. Ever since then, she's harbored a resentment that she transferred to you." Chloe's mind was spinning. Susan had always been hard on her, more than on the other employees. Daily little humiliations, constant criticism, never a word of praise or recognition. Now it all made sense. "But how did she know who I was?" "Your grandmother and Susan's mother were sisters. When you started working at the cafe, Susan recognized you immediately. She saw an opportunity to get revenge on Sarah indirectly." "Did my grandmother know about this?" "I suspect so. Your grandmother knew about the family connection, but let you work there anyway. Maybe she thought Susan would look after you, or maybe she wanted to keep you away from any connection to your mother." Chloe sat back down, feeling completely lost. "So my whole life has been built on lies and revenge?" "Not completely." Arthur gently took her hands. "Your grandmother's love for you is real. She may have made wrong decisions, but she believed she was protecting you. And the gift you have, that extraordinary ability with languages, that came from your mother. It's a gift that no one can take away from you." "What do I do now?" "First, we talk to your grandmother. She needs to tell the whole truth. Then, if you want, I can arrange a call with your mother. And finally, you need to decide what you want to do with your life." "What do you mean by that?" Arthur smiled again. "Chloe, you have a talent that's worth a fortune in the business world. Your gift for languages, combined with your natural intelligence, could open doors you can't even imagine. I'm offering you the same opportunity I offered your mother more than 20 years ago. Work at your company. Work with me, learn the business, travel the world, use your gifts, and maybe, who knows, reunite with your mother in Paris." Chloe's heart was beating so hard she could hear the sound of her own blood rushing through her veins. Part of her wanted to accept right away, leave for France, and meet the mother who had never abandoned her. But another part thought about her elderly grandmother, her responsibilities, the life she had built in the United States. "I need to think," she finally said. "Of course. But don't take too long. Your mother isn't getting any younger, and neither are we." Arthur got up, straightened his jacket, and handed her another card. "My personal number. Call me when you've made your decision. And Chloe, you look a lot like her. The same determination in your eyes, the same inner strength. She would be very proud of the woman you've become." After Arthur left, Chloe stayed in the hotel lobby for more than an hour, simply holding the letters and processing everything she had discovered. Her life had changed completely in a matter of hours. Everything she believed about herself, about her family, about her future was now in question. The trip back home felt even longer than the trip there. Chloe lived with her grandmother Martha in a small apartment in South Beach, just steps from the hotel where she had just discovered the truth about her mother. The irony of the situation was not lost on her. When she got home, she found Martha watching the primetime drama as she did every night. The 72-year-old woman was curled up on the couch, wearing the pink bathrobe she had received last Christmas. Her grey hair was pinned up in a loose bun, and she wore the thick glasses she always complained hurt her nose. "You're home late today," Martha commented, without taking her eyes off the television. "Grandma, we need to talk," Chloe said, turning off the TV with the remote. "Hey, I was watching that." "Grandma, I know the truth about my mother." The silence that followed was heavy as lead. Martha stayed motionless for several seconds, then slowly took off her glasses and placed them on the arm of the sofa. What truth? That she didn't abandon me. That she went to work in France with the promise of coming back. That she wrote letters to me that you refused to deliver. Who told you this? Arthur Sterling, the head of the company where she worked. Martha closed her eyes and sighed deeply. I knew this day would come, she murmured. I hoped it never would, but I knew it was possible. Why, Grandma? Why did you lie to me all these years? Because I love you. Martha opened her eyes, now full of tears. Because I watched my daughter leave, leaving a 3-year-old child behind, and I couldn't bear to watch you grow up waiting for someone who might never come back. But she wanted to come back. She wrote letters, tried to make contact, and what was I supposed to do? Let you grow up torn between two worlds, let you live in hope and uncertainty. It was my right to choose. You were 3 years old. Martha got up from the couch, showing an energy Chloe hadn't seen in a long time. 3 years old, Chloe. You couldn't choose anything, and I saw how she suffered when she decided to leave. I saw the tears, the agony, the doubt. If she really loved you that much, she wouldn't have left. She went to work, to give us a better life. She left because she chose her career over you. Martha's voice was now filled with accumulated bitterness, and when she saw she couldn't come back quickly, it was easier to stay in France than to face reality here. That's not true. Chloe felt the tears returning. Mr. Arthur told me she called every year on my birthday. Martha stopped moving. Her expression changed completely, showing something that seemed like guilt mixed with pain. She did call, she admitted finally. And you answered? Yes. And what did you tell her? That you were fine, that you were growing up happy, that you didn't ask about her. Grandma. And I told her to stop calling, that she was being selfish, that you deserved to live your life without the shadow of a mother who couldn't be present. Chloe sat down heavily on the couch next to her grandmother. 2 generations of women, 2 different perspectives on love and sacrifice. Did you really believe you were protecting me? I believe it to this day. Martha took Chloe's hands. You grew up strong, independent, hard-working. If you had stayed waiting for a mother who lived on the other side of the world, you would have become a frustrated person, always looking at what you didn't have instead of building your own life. But I always felt a void, Grandma. I always wondered why I wasn't good enough for her to stay, and I tried to fill that void with all the love I had. I know, and I'm grateful for that. But still, it was my right to know the truth. They stayed silent for a few minutes, each lost in her own thoughts. What are you going to do now? Martha asked finally. I don't know. Mr. Arthur offered me a job at his company. He said I can meet my mother. Do you want to accept? Part of me wants to. Another part is afraid. And another part doesn't want to leave you alone. Martha smiled for the first time since the conversation began. Chloe, I've already lived my life. I made my mistakes, made my decisions. Some right, others wrong. But you're at the beginning of your life. You can't let an old woman's choices determine your future. But what if I go and I'm disappointed? What if my mother isn't the person I imagine? Then you come back. Your home will always be here. And what if I go and like it so much that I decide to stay? Then I'll be happy knowing you found your place in the world. Chloe hugged her grandmother, feeling the familiar scent of baby powder and lavender that she always associated with safety and home. I need to process all of this, she said. I need to think carefully before making any decision. Of course, but Chloe, if you decide to go, I want you to know that I don't hold any resentment toward your mother. I love her too. She's my daughter. The decisions I made were based on the fear of losing you too. Maybe they were wrong, but they were made with love. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, go ahead and leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot, who are just starting out, now continuing. The next morning, Chloe woke up with a strange feeling. For a moment, she couldn't identify what was different until she realized that for the first time in years, she didn't feel that familiar void in her chest. knowing that her mother hadn't abandoned her, that she had suffered just as much as she had, somehow healed an old wound. She arrived at the cafe still processing everything she had discovered. Susan was at the counter, checking the previous night's register. For the first time, Chloe looked at her with different eyes. The woman in her 40s, brown hair always tied in a tight ponytail, perpetually sour expression, was her cousin. Family. "You're late," Susan said without looking up from the paper. 5 minutes, Chloe replied, tying her apron. 5 minutes that come out of your pay. Normally, Chloe would lower her head and accept the criticism in silence, but not today. "Susan, can I talk to you? I'm busy." "It's about my mother." Susan's hands stopped moving over the paper. She looked up slowly, with a cautious expression. "Your mother? Sarah Miller, your cousin." Susan's face visibly paled. She looked around the cafe, checking if anyone was listening, then signaled for Chloe to follow her to the small office in the back. "How did you find out?" she asked as soon as she closed the door. "I met someone who worked with her. Someone who told me the truth." "What truth?" "That she didn't abandon me. That she went to work in France. And that you knew all about it." Susan sat down heavily in the chair behind the cluttered desk. "And what do you want me to do about it? I want to know why you never told me anything, why you let me believe she didn't want me." "Because it wasn't my responsibility." Susan's voice was defensive. "Your grandmother asked me not to talk about it. She said it was better for you. But you treated me badly because of it, didn't you?" Susan was silent for a long moment. "Your mother was always the favorite," she finally said. "Prettier, smarter, more talented. When that Frenchman showed up offering the dream job, of course he chose her. I applied too, you know. I studied French for 2 years, I prepared, I did interviews, but it didn't matter what I did. Sarah was always the first choice. So you took it out on me." Susan sighed. "It wasn't conscious at first. But when I saw you working here so much like her, with the same way of speaking, the same gestures, it was like time hadn't passed. And all that anger I felt came back." "Is that fair to me?" "No, it's not fair. But life isn't fair, Chloe. Your mother had opportunities I never had, and now you're going to have them too, aren't you?" "What do you mean?" "The man who was here yesterday. He's going to offer you the same thing he offered her. That's how the world works. Some people are born lucky, others aren't." Chloe felt a mixture of pity and anger towards Susan. On one hand, she understood the woman's frustration. On the other, she couldn't accept that it justified years of cruel treatment. "Susan, I'm sorry you went through that, but that doesn't give you the right to treat me badly for something that wasn't my fault." "You're right," Susan admitted, "and I apologize. I know I can't undo what I did, but I regret it. Thank you for telling me that. Are you going to accept his job offer?" "I haven't decided yet. If I were you, I'd accept it. Don't miss the opportunity your mother had, and that I never had." The rest of the day at the cafe passed strangely. Susan made no criticism, didn't complain about anything, even complimented the coffee Chloe prepared for a client. The other employees noticed the change, but no one commented. Chloe spent the entire shift thinking about her conversation with Arthur, the opportunity to work at his company, to meet her mother, to use her natural gifts. But she also thought about her grandmother, the simple life she'd built in the United States, the fears of starting something completely new. At the end of the shift, she made a decision. She picked up the phone and dialed the number Arthur had given her. "Hello? Mr. Sterling, it's Chloe." "Chloe, how nice to hear your voice. Have you thought about my proposal?" "I have. And I have a few questions." "Of course, go ahead." "If I accept working with you, can I come back to the United States whenever I want? Of course, it's not a prison, it's a job." "And my grandmother, could she visit me?" "Naturally. I can even arrange that." "And about my mother, what exactly do you have in mind?" "Well, that would depend on the two of you. I can arrange an initial contact by phone, then a video call, and if you both feel comfortable, an in-person meeting." She knows you found me?" Not yet. I wanted to make sure you were interested before getting your hopes up. I understand. Chloe, can I be frank with you? Of course. Your mother never fully recovered from leaving you behind. She functioned, she worked, she built a life, but something was always missing. Every year on your birthday she gets depressed for weeks. Meeting her could be the healing she needs, but it could also reopen old wounds. What are you saying? That you need to be sure you're ready for this. Meeting your mother isn't just about you, it's about her too, and about 20 years of pain you both carry. Chloe fell silent, absorbing the weight of Arthur's words. I accept, she finally said. Are you sure? I am, but with one condition. What? I want to talk to her first, by phone, before making any decision about moving or a job. I need to hear her voice, to know how I feel talking to her. That's very sensible. I can arrange that for tomorrow night if you'd like. Tomorrow night works. Chloe, you're doing the right thing. I know you're scared, but some chances only come once in a lifetime. After hanging up, Chloe walked slowly through the streets of South Beach, watching life happen around her. Elderly couples strolled hand in hand along the beach, children played in the playgrounds, street vendors hawked their goods. Everything seemed normal, ordinary, familiar. It was the life she had always known. Tomorrow night, everything could change. Tomorrow night, she would hear her mother's voice for the first time in over 20 years. At home, she told Martha about her conversation with Arthur and about her decision to accept the first contact. Are you sure you're ready? Her grandmother asked. No, but I don't think I'll ever be completely ready. Some things you just have to do even when you're not sure. You've grown up, Chloe. You're making your own decisions, facing your fears. I'm proud of you. Thank you, Grandma, for everything, for the mistakes and the triumphs, for raising me, for loving me, for giving me a solid foundation to fly from. And you will fly far, my granddaughter. I know it. That night, Chloe barely slept. She kept imagining what her mother's voice would sound like, what they would say to each other, what it would be like to recognize each other through words. Would Sarah remember what Chloe was like as a little girl? Had she also imagined this moment all those years? The next day at the cafe passed very slowly. Susan kept being kinder, even asking if Chloe was okay when she noticed her looking especially distracted. Are you going to talk to her today? She asked at the end of the afternoon. How do you know? The way you're acting. It's the same way your mother got when she was nervous. You really do look a lot like her. What was she like? Chloe asked, realizing she had never talked to anyone who had actually known her mother. Intense, Susan said after thinking for a moment. When she got excited about something, she lit up the whole room. And when she was worried, she got just like you are now, biting her nails, playing with her hair, unable to sit still. I do that? You're doing it right now. Susan smiled, for the first time since Chloe had known her. She also had that habit of talking to herself in different languages when she was nervous. Sometimes Italian, sometimes French, sometimes Spanish, as if the other languages expressed what she was feeling better. I do that too, Chloe admitted, surprised. Genetic inheritance, said Susan. The talent you two have for languages is impressive. I studied French for years and never came close to the level you both have naturally. At 8 that night, Chloe was at home, sitting by the phone, waiting for Arthur to call. Martha was in the kitchen, making tea, but Chloe knew she was just keeping busy to hide her nervousness. The phone rang at 8:15. Chloe, it's me, Arthur. Hi, Mr. Sterling. Your mother is here with me. I explained the whole situation to her. She's very emotional. Are you ready? I think so. I'll put her on the line now. Chloe heard the sound of the phone being passed from one hand to the other, then a silence that lasted several seconds. Chloe. A female voice, soft, with a slight accent that mixed American and French. Mom, the word came out naturally, as if it had been practiced for 20 years. My daughter. They both started crying at the same time. Chloe could hear her mother's sobs on the other end of the line, mixed with her own. It was as if 20 years of pain were being released all at once. I'm so sorry, Sarah said through tears. I'm sorry I couldn't come back. I'm sorry you grew up without me. I'm sorry for everything. "Mum, it wasn't your fault," Chloe managed to say. "I know it wasn't your fault. Every day I thought about you. Every day I wondered how you were, if you were okay, if you needed me. I always needed you. I always missed you." "How are you? How did you grow up?" "Arthur told me you're a beautiful, intelligent, hard-working young woman." "I'm fine, Mom. Grandma Martha raised me well, but I always had an emptiness I could never explain." "Me too, my daughter. Me too." They talked for over 2 hours. Sarah talked about life in France, about her work, about how she had tried to come back several times. Chloe talked about her childhood, about school, about working at the cafe, about the dreams she had. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot who are just starting out. Now, continuing, "You speak French," Sarah observed at one point in the conversation. "I speak several languages, actually. I don't know how I learned them." "It's a family gift. My father, your grandfather, had that same ease. It's a heritage passed down from generation to generation." "I never met my grandfather. He passed away when you were a baby, but he would have been so proud of you. He always said languages are bridges that connect people, cultures, hearts." "Arthur offered me a job at his company." "I know. And are you going to accept it?" "I don't know. I'm still thinking." "Still. Chloe, don't make this decision because of me. If you want to accept it because it's a good opportunity for you, accept it. If you want to turn it down because you prefer your life in the United States, turn it down. But don't base your choice on fear or guilt. I want to meet you in person. I also really want to meet you, but I want it to be because you want to, not because you feel obligated." "Mom? Can I call you Mom?" "It's what I want most in the world." "Mom, I want to try. I want to accept the job, go to France, meet you. But I'm really scared." "Scared of what?" "Of finding out we're very different people. Of finding out that 20 years of separation created a gap we can't cross. Of hurting Grandma Martha. Of failing at work. Of a million things." "Chloe, can I tell you a secret?" "Yes." "I'm scared too. Scared that you won't like me. Scared that you'll see me as the mother who couldn't stay. Scared that 20 years is too much time to make up for. But do you know what I've discovered throughout all these years?" "What?" "That fear is part of love. When we love someone deeply, we always fear losing them, hurting them, not being enough. Fear isn't the opposite of love. It's proof that love exists." "I've never thought of it that way." "And about your grandmother. I don't have any anger toward her, Chloe. She did what she thought was best for you. It was hard for me, but I understand it was a hard decision for her too. If you decide to come to France, we can bring her to visit, or you can come back whenever you want. You love me even without knowing me. I've loved you since the first moment I knew you existed. And I'll love you until the last day of my life. That has never changed, even with the distance, even with time." When they finally hung up the phone, Chloe knew her decision was made. Martha, who had stayed in the kitchen during the entire conversation, appeared with 2 cups of tea. "So? I'm going to take the job. I'm going to meet my mother. How do you feel? Scared, anxious, hopeful, sad to leave you, excited about the possibilities, all at once. When do you leave?" "Arthur said I can start in a month. Enough time to get organized, to leave the cafe, to prepare ourselves. Chloe, I want you to know that I'm very proud of you, and very proud of the woman your mother has become as well. You're both brave, intelligent, determined. Thank you, Grandma, for everything, for loving me when no one else was there to do it. I'll always be here. This will always be your home, your family, your safe harbor. Will you be okay alone?" "I'll be fine. And besides, I know you'll come back to visit, and that I'll get to meet my daughter in person too. Do you want to talk to her?" "Very much. There's a lot we need to talk about, her and I." In the days that followed, Chloe went through an emotional roller coaster. One moment she was excited about the possibilities. The next she was terrified of the change. Arthur helped her with the paperwork, the visa, the practical preparations. He also set up regular conversations between Chloe and Sarah so they could get to know each other gradually. At the cafe, the news that Chloe was leaving her job caused general surprise. Susan, surprisingly, organized a small farewell party. "I'm sorry again for everything," she said to Chloe on the day of the farewell. "And tell your mother that I'm sorry for the way things turned out." "I will, yes. And Chloe, enjoy this opportunity. It's what your mother would want you to do." The month passed quickly. Chloe sold some furniture, organized her things, got the necessary documents. Arthur had arranged a small apartment for her in Paris, near the company's office. The initial job would be as a translation assistant, but with prospects for rapid growth. On the eve of the trip, Grandma Martha helped Chloe pack. "Don't forget your wool coat," said the grandmother. "Paris is cold in the winter." "It's not winter, Grandma, but it will be soon, and you need to be prepared." "Grandma, are you sure you're okay with this?" "I am. And you know why? Because for 20 years I worried about whether I was making the right choices for you. Now you're making your own choices. That means I did my job as a grandmother." "You did a perfect job as a grandmother." "Not perfect, I made mistakes, but I did it with love. And that's what mattered." At the airport, Arthur was waiting for Chloe along with Grandma Martha. He had arranged for the grandmother to accompany her all the way to the boarding gate. "Ready for the adventure?" he asked. "As ready as I can be." "Your mother is at the airport in Paris, waiting for you. She hasn't been able to sleep for the last 3 nights. Neither have I. That's normal. You're about to reunite after more than 20 years. It would be strange if you weren't nervous. Boarding was emotionally difficult." Chloe said goodbye to Grandma Martha amid many tears, promising to call as soon as she arrived, promising to come back soon to visit, promising to take care of herself. "Go, my granddaughter. Go find your mother. Go discover who you really are." During the 11-hour flight to Paris, Chloe alternated between sleeping and staying awake, imagining what the meeting would be like. Arthur had shown recent photos of Sarah, and she had recognized some features in her own face. The same eyes, the same shape of the nose, the same way of smiling. When the plane landed at Charles de Gaulle Airport, Chloe's heart was beating so hard she could feel the pulses in her neck. Arthur was waiting for her right at the exit of the arrivals area. "How was the flight?" "Long," said Chloe, still groggy from the time difference. "Your mother is here." "She arrived 3 hours before your flight." "Where?" "Over there." Arthur pointed to a woman around 45 years old, brown hair tied up in a bun, wearing a beige coat. She had her back turned, looking out the window. "Is that her?" "That's her." Chloe walked slowly toward her mother, her legs feeling wobbly. When she was just a few feet away, Sarah turned around, as if she had felt her presence. Their eyes met, and the moment lasted an eternity. Mother and daughter looked at each other in silence, absorbing every detail, every feature, every resemblance. Then, simultaneously, they began walking toward each other. "Chloe," said Sarah, extending her hands. "Mom," Chloe replied, taking her mother's hands. They embraced right there in the middle of the busy airport, crying and laughing at the same time. 20 years of separation were being healed in a matter of seconds. "You're even more beautiful than I imagined," said Sarah, pulling back a little to look at her daughter. "You're beautiful too." "I'm old." "You're beautiful." Arthur watched the scene from a distance with a satisfied smile. After so many years carrying the guilt of having separated mother and daughter, he had finally managed to bring them together. "Shall we go home?" suggested Sarah. "I prepared a special lunch for you." "Home?" "My apartment. Our home, for as long as you want to stay." Sarah's apartment was small but cozy, located on the 6th floor of an old building in Greenwich Village. It had a beautiful view of the Eiffel Tower and was decorated with great taste, mixing French and American elements. "Here's your room," said Sarah, opening the door to a small room with a twin bed, a desk, and a wardrobe. "I know it's simple, but—" "It's perfect," Chloe interrupted, emotional to see that her mother had prepared a space especially for her. During lunch, they talked about everything and nothing. Sarah wanted to know about Chloe's childhood, about school, about friends, about dreams. Chloe wanted to know about her mother's life in France, about her work, about what it had been like to live so far from the United States for so long. "Why did you never remarry?" Chloe asked at one point. "I tried, I met some people, I had some relationships, but I could never fully commit. I always felt like I was betraying you, abandoning you a second time. That's not fair to yourself." "Maybe, but it's how I felt, as if I didn't deserve to be completely happy while you were growing up without me." "Mom, you deserve to be happy, and I want you to be. Now that you're here, maybe I can be." In the following days, Chloe started working at Arthur's company. The work was challenging but rewarding. She helped with translations, participated in international meetings, used her linguistic gifts in ways she had never imagined. At night, she would come home and talk with Sarah. They cooked together, watched movies, walked through the streets of Paris. Slowly, they were building a relationship that mixed the affection of mother and daughter with the discovery of two adults getting to know each other. "You know what impresses me most about you?" said Sarah one night, while they drank tea on the small balcony of the apartment. "What?" "How did you become such a good person, so well-balanced, despite everything? Your grandmother really did an excellent job. You would have done the same. I'm not so sure. When you were little, I was very young, very impulsive. Maybe I wouldn't have had the patience and wisdom that Martha had. But you would have loved me. That, yes, that I would have done with all the intensity in the world." After a month in Paris, Chloe already felt completely adjusted. Work was going well. Her relationship with her mother was growing stronger every day, and she had even made a few friends at the company. But she still missed her grandmother, life in the United States, the small familiar things. "I'm thinking about going back to the United States to visit her," she told Sarah. "Of course, whenever you want. Do you want to come with me?" Sarah stopped what she was doing and looked at Chloe with surprise. "You want me to come with you?" "Yes, I think it's time for you and Grandma Martha to talk in person." "Are you sure? After everything that happened, I'm sure. You both love me, and I love you both. It's time for the whole family to heal old wounds." 2 weeks later, Chloe and Sarah landed at Miami International Airport. Martha was waiting, visibly nervous. When she saw Sarah, she stood still for a few seconds. "Hi, Mom," Sarah said, using the word she hadn't spoken in over 20 years. "Sarah," Martha murmured, tears in her eyes. The embrace between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law was long and full of silent forgiveness. Two women who had made difficult choices, driven by love for the same person. "You look beautiful, my dear," Martha said. "Paris has been good to you." "Thank you, Mom. You look beautiful too. I'm old. We're all getting older. But there's still time for us to be happy together." The week they spent together in the United States was healing for the whole family. Sarah visited the places where Chloe had grown up, toured her school, the cafe where she had worked. Martha told stories from Chloe's childhood, showed photos, shared memories. "Thank you," Sarah said to Martha on the last night of the visit. "Thank you for taking care of her when I couldn't." "Thank you for forgiving me for the choices I made," Martha replied. "Those were different times. You did what you thought was best. And you? Do you regret going to France?" "I regret not being able to come back sooner, but I don't regret the opportunity. And now, thanks to Arthur, I have the best of both worlds. My daughter back and a career that fulfills me. Will she stay in France?" "That's her decision, but I hope so, at least for a while. She has so much potential, so many opportunities there." "And will you visit her here?" "Whenever I can, and whenever she wants." On the flight back to Paris, Chloe reflected on how completely her life had changed in just a few months. From a simple cafe server, she had become part of an international company, was living in Paris, had reunited with her mother and healed old family wounds. "Any regrets?" Sarah asked, noticing her daughter's thoughtful expression. "None." "And you?" "None. I only regret that we lost so many years together. But we won't lose any more." "No, we won't." Back at work in Paris, Chloe discovered that Arthur had a new proposal for her. "Since you've adapted so well, I'm thinking of promoting you." How would you like to be our international relations coordinator for Latin America? That means traveling regularly to the United States, overseeing our business there, being the bridge between Paris and Chicago. You'd have the best of both worlds. I accept, Chloe said without hesitation. Don't you want to think about it? I don't need to. It's perfect. 6 months later, Chloe was completely established in her new life. She spent half her time in Paris and half in the United States. She had rented a small apartment in Chicago for her stays, but she always spent a few days with Martha in South Beach. Sarah also began to visit the United States regularly. She and Martha had developed a solid friendship based on their mutual love for Chloe and on forgiveness for the choices of the past. You know what I discovered, Chloe said to Arthur during a meeting. What? That sometimes life takes us down paths we don't understand at the time, but that makes sense in the end. What do you mean? If my mother hadn't gone to France, I never would have developed my linguistic gifts. If my grandmother hadn't kept me away from her, I never would have learned to be independent. If I hadn't worked at the cafe, I never would have met you. Everything was connected. Do you think it was destined to happen? I think it was destined to work out, one way or another. A year after their first meeting at the cafe, Chloe organized a small party at her home in Paris. Arthur was there with his wife. Sarah had cooked American specialties. Martha had arrived the previous week for a 1-month visit. A toast, said Arthur, raising his glass of wine. To the family that found each other again. To the opportunities we didn't let slip away, and to the talent that connects people through words. And to courage, added Sarah. To Chloe's courage to accept a frightening opportunity, to Martha's courage to forgive me, and to my own courage to come home after so many years, and to love, said Martha, because in the end it was love that brought us all here. To the love that unites families, agreed Chloe, even when they are separated by oceans and years. That night, after everyone had left, Chloe sat on the balcony of her Parisian apartment, looking at the city lights. Her phone rang. It was a message from Susan, from the United States. I saw your interview in the magazine. Congratulations on your success. Your mother would be proud. Oh, wait. She is proud. Chloe smiled, typed an affectionate reply, and then sat in silence for a few minutes, thinking about how a simple phrase whispered in French had completely changed the course of her life. Sometimes, she thought, the most important moments of our lives happen without us realizing it at the time. A word spoken at the right moment, an opportunity seized, a bridge built between two people who love each other but are separated by time and distance. She picked up her notebook. She had developed the habit of writing down her reflections and wrote, Today I learned that the talent we carry within us is not just a personal gift. It is a tool to connect, to heal, to bring together. It is a responsibility to use our gifts not only for our own success, but to build bridges between people, cultures, families. Then she closed the notebook, took the last sip of tea, and got ready for bed. Tomorrow would be another day divided between two worlds, two cultures, two languages. But now she knew she wasn't divided. She was multiplied, enriched, complete. At the same time, on the other side of Paris, Sarah was writing in her own journal, Today, my daughter taught me that true love doesn't die with distance or time. It just waits for the right moment to reveal itself. 20 years seemed like an eternity, but they were just the time needed for her to become the strong, independent woman she is today. We didn't lose 20 years. We gained a story of reunion that made us value even more what we have. And in the United States, Martha was talking on the phone with an old neighbor. You know what I discovered, Elsa? I discovered that we don't need to be perfect to do the right things. We just need to truly love and trust that love finds its way. The end. Now tell me what you thought of this story of reunion and overcoming. Have you ever experienced something like this in your own family? Do you know someone who had to make tough decisions for love? Leave your honest opinion in the comments below about the choices each character made. And don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other emotional stories that will touch your heart.